Hi my CNPs, welcome back to our channel, and for those who are new, welcome. Well, after a 3-year break, I am back with renewed energy, hoping to share some of my favorite sci-fi stories and moments with you all. So in today's video, we'll be revisiting the Asgard's origins and what made us fall in love with those little gray men. So without further ado, let's get started. For thousands of years, humanity looked up at the stars and imagined gods. But in the Stargate universe, some of those gods were real. The Asgard were one of the most advanced civilizations humanity would ever encounter. They could cross galaxies, manipulate matter, travel through time, and build technology so advanced that the Goa'uld were virtually powerless against them. And yet, despite all their technological achievements, the Asgard was slowly dying. Their greatest enemy wasn't the Goa'uld. It wasn't the Replicators. It was themselves. So where did the Asgard actually come from? And how did one of the most powerful races in the galaxy end up choosing extinction? Let's go back to the beginning. Long before the Stargate program existed, the galaxy was dominated by several extraordinary civilizations. Among them were 4 races that would eventually become known as the 4 Great Races: the Ancients, the Asgard, the Nox, and the mysterious Furlings. Together, these civilizations formed an alliance based on knowledge, cooperation, and mutual respect. The Ancients were arguably the most technologically advanced of the 4. The Nox possessed extraordinary abilities and followed a philosophy of non-violence. The Asgard became one of the galaxy's greatest military and scientific powers. And the Furlings, well, that's another mystery entirely. Very little is ever revealed about them. But the important thing is that the Asgard weren't newcomers to the galaxy. They were ancients. Their civilization had existed for an extraordinary length of time before humanity ever became aware of them. The biggest misconception about the Asgard is that they simply evolved into the small grey beings we see in Stargate SG-1. They didn't. The Asgard we meet are the result of thousands of years of technological intervention. Originally, the Asgards were much more humanoid. They looked significantly closer to humans than the familiar grey bodies of Thor and his people. But the Asgard eventually abandoned natural reproduction. Instead, they relied on advanced cloning technology. At first, this seemed like the perfect solution. A new body could be created whenever an Asgard died or needed to be replaced. But that was a devastating problem. Every clone was genetically based on the previous generation. And then the next generation was based on that one. And then the next. Over thousands of years, genetic errors accumulated. The Asgard's bodies began to deteriorate. They became increasingly fragile. Eventually, the very technology that allowed the Asgard to survive for so long was contributing to their extinction. Despite their biological problems, the Asgard remained incredibly powerful. They became one of the few civilizations capable of directly challenging the Goa'uld. The Goa'uld had dominated enormous parts of the galaxy by exploiting primitive civilizations and taking human hosts. But the Asgards were different. Their technology was vastly superior. Their ships were faster, their weapons were more powerful, and their knowledge of advanced science was far beyond anything the Goa'uld possessed. The Asgard therefore became protectors of many worlds. In particular, they established treaties with planets under Goa'uld control. Earth eventually became one of those protected worlds. And that treaty would become extremely important because it means that the Goa'uld couldn't simply evade Earth without risking the war with the Asgard. Then came the Stargate program. When humans began traveling through the Stargate, they encountered the Asgard. One of the most important figures in that relationship was Thor. Thor became the Asgard's primary representative to Earth. And unlike many advanced civilizations, the Asgard didn't see humanity simply as an inferior species. They saw potential. Humanity was primitive compared with the Asgard, but humans possessed something the Asgard increasingly lacked: adaptability. Humans could learn rapidly, they could reproduce naturally, and most importantly, humanity was still evolving. The Asgard eventually came to believe that humans could become the fifth race, a successor to the great civilizations of the past. This relationship would become critical when an enemy appeared that even the Asgard struggled to defeat. The Replicators were unlike anything the Asgard had previously encountered. They weren't simply another civilization with powerful weapons. They could reproduce, they could adapt, and they could consume technology and use it to make themselves stronger. Every battle against the Asgard taught them something. Every encounter made them more dangerous. The Asgard fought them for years, but eventually the war became almost impossible to win. And while the Asgards were fighting an enemy that constantly evolved, the Asgard themselves were doing the opposite. Their biology was deteriorating. Their civilization was becoming dependent on technology just to survive. Their numbers were declining, and they had reached the limits of what their cloning technology could accomplish. The Asgard had conquered almost every technological problem imaginable, but they couldn't solve the problem of being Asgard. Eventually, the Asgard came to a devastating conclusion. They had no future. They could continue cloning themselves. They could continue transferring their minds into new bodies. They could continue extending their existence, but they could no longer reproduce naturally. And their genetic degradation had become irreversible. Their civilization was effectively living on borrowed time. So the Asgard made a decision. Rather than allowing the species to slowly deteriorate into something even worse, they would end their existence on their own terms. But before they did, they had one final gift to humanity: their knowledge. In the episode Unending, the Asgard transferred their accumulated knowledge and technology to the crew of the Odyssey. For thousands of years, they had accumulated scientific knowledge that humanity could barely comprehend, and suddenly they gave it away. Their final legacy would not be their ships. It wouldn't be their weapons. It wouldn't even be their civilization. It would be the knowledge they left behind. And then the Asgard destroyed themselves. Their entire civilization was wiped out. The tragedy of the Asgard isn't that they were defeated by a stronger species. It is that they essentially defeated themselves. Their technology allowed them to survive for thousands of years, but eventually, technology couldn't compensate biology. They had become masters of the universe around them while losing control of themselves. And perhaps that's what makes their story one of the most interesting in the entire Stargate universe. The Asgard were amongst the most advanced beings humanity ever encountered. They had technology that seemed almost godlike. But in the end, their greatest achievement wasn't surviving. It was recognizing that their civilization had reached its end and choosing what legacy they would leave behind. The Asgard may have disappeared, but their knowledge survived, and in the hands of humanity, their story continued. thank you very much, guys, for watching my video until the end. I truly appreciate it. And if you're new to this channel and you're into this type of content, this is the channel for you. So please hit the subscribe button down there. Like this video if you liked what you saw. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. I will catch you in my next one, guys. Bye.